Chapter 5 November Rain. What a ride it's been. It seems like every issue leaves me thinking something huge will happen in the next release, but somehow Araki manages to keep writing more build-up, more questions and answers, and more mystery. And somehow, it's still really enjoyable to read even though now we have to worry about traders, and a crazy diamond that can defy physics apparently. Good grief. The chapter starts off with Rohan tying up Paco and Usagi. The diamond has fallen from Dragona's hands again and he's freaked out and hyperventilating. Rohan then calls the police on them. It seems like a very strange choice to have his street name censored in the speech bubble. Perhaps the house Rohan is staying in is based off a real mansion Araki owns in Hawaii? If there's an actual logical reason for this, I'd guess since this all starts from Dragona's own perspective, that perhaps Rohan wrote something in Dragona that made him unable to recall or even hear that sort of information. Perhaps Rohan was planning a catch and release and wrote into the crew something along the lines of, "I cannot recall the location of Rohan's mansion." That way he doesn't have to worry about any of them returning after they leave. He does mention near the end it would have been wiser for them to have allowed themselves to be captured by him, since they're being followed. Maybe he had a plan all along for the crew to get out safe if they agree to cooperate with him. Though he does say if Dragona allows himself to be captured by him, he can just get off with being sent to prison. So what do I know? Dragona then attempts to take the diamond and throw it in his bag, but then it ends up in Rohan's coffee cup across the room somehow. Rohan tips the diamond out of the cup and then turns to find his stolen banknotes. When he goes to take them, he strangely says, "It came back." This freaks out Dragona even more. If I was to hazard a guess as to why this happens based on everything we know from up to this chapter, I'd say there might be some sort of special ability possessed within the rocks that were in Rohan's safe. This ability may cause fortune to redirect towards whoever is in possession of these rocks. That also could explain why Paco is able to carry the diamond when they leave. Since the group possesses the rocks, the diamond is no longer redirected towards Rohan. This innate ability possessed within the rock is the mechanism Rohan tells Jodio about, which will make him filthy rich. Essentially something similar, but opposite to something like a natural law of calamity, something which Wonder of You was able to manipulate. This could be why Rohan states specifically that a law of nature resides within the rock. Rohan was studying the rocks to try and figure out what kind of composition results in this effect, and figure out what sort of lava flows create them. This could be why Jodio is seen running towards a volcano in the first issue. Either he's trying to look for more of this lava, or perhaps redirect things like diamonds out of the flow of the lava towards him. Anyhow, Rohan is unimpressed with the barrage of questions and just wants to tie him up. Just before that happens, Jodio uses November Rain in the room. Rohan deduces it was him and his stand ability and begins to try to mete out the rules of his stand. Rohan isn't sure why he made it rain inside and walks into the room. He notices the carpet is wet and when he walks onto it, the floor beneath crumbles and Jodio is there to capture him. Jodio then apologizes to Rohan. It would seem since Rohan's hands are bound that his ability wears off from the crew. Rohan seems to understand now that Jodio's stand can create rain that has a lot of weight, and if I'm reading this correctly, he was able to soak the carpet, then use the rain that was soaked within to punch a hole through the concrete floor beneath. That would indicate he has an extreme amount of control over the rain that his stand produces. If his stand truly is this versatile, then there's almost an innumerable amount of mind-blowing things he could do with careful planning. Anyway, Usagi and Paco want to take it out on Rohan, but Jodio stops them, saying Rohan's a mangaka, and though he's rich, he's a special rich guy. They don't seem to care though. Jodio says that he respects him, and he thinks today's going to be a great day. It's kind of wholesome to see him try to be positive about things, even if it does come off as some sort of self-reassurance, like he's trying to manifest that road to happiness he seeks out of this very moment. Dragona then snaps back at him saying the police are coming and that Rohan knows everything. He also says no matter how hard he tries taking the diamond, he can't steal it. Whatever the case may be, Usagi and Paco are confused, and Rohan speaks up warning them that they'll be leaving empty-handed and they should have let him capture them. It would have been in their best interest, and as a result, something even more dangerous is going to happen to them next. Rohan then names all of them out loud but seems to single out Jodio, even mentioning his age, telling them that they're being followed. Jodio begins to speak to them all reassuredly, repeating pretty much the same thing he said before, also saying they'll be able to get a plane no problem. All they need to do is get back to Oahu and deal with the evidence somehow. He then picks up Rohan's phone, politely referring to him as sensei, showing him his respect, and asks him to tell the police there was a mistake and that they don't need the patrol car to come. Rohan then does his classic line. Then Jodio shows some personality. "You refuse? Aw dang." Rohan points out it'd be a waste of time. They'd come to investigate anyway. Jodio says not to worry, shaking Rohan's phone and seemingly tapping it on his own head. He tells him that it was really cool to see Pink Dart Boy half finished. Rohan doesn't seem to understand what he's getting at. Jodio says Rohan's manga speaks to him, and because he respects him, he sort of gets the approach he has towards manga, like something that came down from the heavens. "I understand," he says. He then mentions also enjoying his Four Circles short work. Perhaps this indicates that the Rohan from Hot Summer Martha was not from the original continuity all along. The JoJo Wiki states that in that episode that Izumi's age is erroneously stated to be 25 like she was in Millionaire Village, though she should be around 34 with it taking place in 2021. Perhaps this was an intentional choice? In that volume, COVID is covered as well, like what happened in the beginning of the JOJOLands. Rohan also seems like he's around the same age in both of these. Bakin is the same too, though there are photos where he appears to have grown up a year or two, which would make sense with this taking place post-pandemic. He mentions that going to a location is how he creates his manga, which COVID is getting in the way of. His editor then mentions taking a research trip traveling overseas once restrictions are lifted. This is the episode where the Four Circles story is created, and the fact that everything seems to line up is quite peculiar. Perhaps Araki intended the stories somewhere around Hot Summer Martha onward to take place within the new universe? It's difficult to say, as reading the recap page for the episode says that Thus Spoke Kishibe Rohan also takes place in the same world as the original JoJo story. Maybe we'll see a retcon like what happened in JoJolium with Josefumi and his birthmark. Or it's just the whole universal constant thing Rohan seems to have going on. Anyhow, no one has any idea what Jodio was talking about. He says he's talking about the lava and the photos of lava and volcanoes he found during his investigation. This makes Rohan sweat. When Jodio came in the house, he saw the lava rocks in the safe and determined they must be more valuable than the diamond itself. Rohan is sweating profusely. Jodio says Rohan came to Hawaii for those rocks, not for a vacation. Everyone wants to know why, and Jodio continues their conversation. He basically ends up ransoming the rocks, saying if anything gets in their way going back, he'll break the rock and throw it into the sea. He then asks Rohan again to call off the police. He then pretends to hand Rohan his phone and then smashes one of the rocks and blows away the dust, which upsets Rohan greatly. This then proves to Jodio that the rocks are the most valuable thing in the safe. Everyone has questions. Jodio thinks Rohan knows why these rocks are different, and he's sure the crew's safety is guaranteed now after what he just did. He leaves Rohan his phone and a pair of scissors. Paco takes the diamond since Dragona isn't confident that he can, and Rohan tells Jodio to wait, that he has something important to say to only him. Rohan says that he's humiliated that he was bested by them and forced to make a deal. But at the same time, he finds Jodio interesting. He informs Jodio that possessing the rock bears responsibility. Only one is left. He tells him if he handles the rock with care, he can become filthy rich. That there's a law of nature in the rock, and such a mechanism will gradually become his. He tells him to go ahead and want, embrace ambition, not to lose heart, and to climb higher. Jodio presses for more info, but Rohan says Jodio is the one who drew that card, and he's only leaving the rock in his care, not giving it to him. He's certain they'll meet again, promising to rescind his report to the police. He warns Jodio not to share any information about that lava rock, and to be wary of trusting his comrades. Then he is told to go. Everyone is leaving the house, planning their route back. Usagi seems to have stolen an original pink Dark Boy picture and asks Jodio to appraise it, which freaks him out. Usagi says that it's his and he's not giving it to him. Paco then notes he is able to carry the diamond no problem, and as the three walk away, three cats begin chase. So there's really not too many things to go over with all this info. The only thing I can touch on is the potential traitors around Jodio. I think it boils down to this simply. Usagi and Paco will be traitors. Their behavior in the mansion and inability to listen to orders spells disaster. They're way too self-interested. In fact, their behavior before even getting into the mansion was off too. Paco was fine stealing from customers in Meryl May's shop, and the fact that Usagi ripped everyone off at the car rental really says something. Really, it seems Dragona's the only one who will make it out of this not betraying Jodio. I mean, remember that boat shot from the first chapter cover? There were only two people on that boat, Jodio and Dragona, so I think that's a hint for things to come. Kind of like how last chapter's cover was a hint towards what actually happened in this chapter. What do I think will happen next? If all these cats have similar abilities to the ones shown earlier, I think the next chapter will involve the capture of the entire crew. Whoever is behind things probably didn't know about the lava rocks and wants the diamond for themselves. After all, Rohan says that they were being followed, not him. So clearly it's someone who only knows of the diamond through them. Probably Meryl May, like I said before, but who knows? Also, who would have thought that the thing Jodio talked about that no amount of people would have been enough for wasn't going to be Rohan, even though he came out of left field, but actually a bunch of cats. Anyway, that's all I have to say. If you have any theories or things you noticed during your read-through, let me know in the comments down below. Be sure to like the video and stay subscribed for more content. Till next time, farewell.